Hello and welcome back. Does a one-day late payment affect my credit? So this is a common question, and you'd be surprised to know that even one singular late payment can absolutely crush your credit scores. In this video, we're going to discuss what does a one-day late payment look like. Hi, welcome back. My name is Justin Mirche, and today we're going to dig into what constitutes a late payment and what that looks like when reported to the credit bureaus. We're going to also analyze if a single late pay actually matters, and we're going to look at different ways to potentially get those single late pays corrected. And then we'll finish off with some sound strategies how to avoid late pays altogether. Okay, so remember, the biggest bucket within the credit scoring algorithm is going to be payment history. It's 35% of your overall credit score. So anytime that you pay late, it's obviously going to impact your score in a negative fashion. Depending upon where you currently stand, one late payment could absolutely decimate your credit. However, if you're somebody who has had credit challenges and has consistent late payments, that one late payment may not hurt you that much. As an example, I have nearly perfect credit. All of my scores are up in the 800s and 820s. And I've worked really hard over a whole lot of years to attain those scores. Now, being in that kind of level of credit, if I were to pay late just one time on one of my credit cards, my scores would drop down probably below 700 in the immediate. And then over the next 6 months or a year, I'd probably rise back up to a 700. But one late pay would be devastating to me. And quite honestly, it's kind of one of my biggest nightmares. I mean, I think about that a lot. I'm very protective of my credit because I have no blemishes. I have very long history of paying everything on time, lots of different credit accounts, lots of different installment loans. I've worked so hard to get my credit to where it is today that I want to make sure that nothing ever damages it. And you should feel that way too. Okay, let's face it, credit history, along with your financial kind of well-being, has its up and down. Most people don't live their life, their entire life, and never have no mistakes happen to your credit. If there's never been a mistake in your life from a financial perspective, in most cases that means that you've never had any type of an emergency. I'm not saying that doesn't exist, but I know that I've had financial issues in my early 20s. I had problems with my credit, problems with my financial life, and I had to rebuild at the early age of 21, 22 years old. Had already blown my credit out of the water. And by the way, that's not that uncommon. Young people don't realize how perfect their credit is to start. You start off with perfect credit. And then your blemishes start, your derogatories start, and then it takes a very long time to clean that all up. So in many cases, people suffer late pays because they had significant issues in their life. They had medical emergencies. They had to repair their vehicle. They had their transmission dropped out of their vehicle, and it cost them $6,000 or $8,000 to replace that. There's many good reasons for late payments as to why they happen. And honestly, creditors are, in many cases, very willing to work with you if you're proactive. And by proactive, I mean a couple of different things. First of all, know your budget. And that means create a budget. It's astounding how many people do not use their Excel spreadsheet to create a budget for themselves. Really, at the end of the day, you need to know what money's going out, what money's coming in, what's a necessary expense, and then also what your disposable income looks like. And what I mean by disposable income is what's left over after you pay all of your bills. Okay, so if you're enjoying this content, please like this video and subscribe to my channel. I'll be working hard to bring you a video each weekday over personal finance, which will include topics in credit and lending. Okay, so now let's say that you've looked at your budget, you understand kind of the flow of your budget, and then you had that emergency car repair that's absolutely mandatory to get fixed. And let's say that mandatory car repair cost you $500. You have to be able to know where you're at in your budget to let your creditors know that, hey, look, I may be late this month on some of my payments. Now, being proactive is really important because you should be able to tell based on your budget what's coming up. And that's not the way most people operate. Most people operate in kind of emergency mode. They realize they're not going to be able to make their payments like a day before their payment is due. And that's not always the best way to approach this sort of thing. So if you know you're going to be having some type of financial issue during the month, it's best to be ahead of the curve. Now, if you know that you're going to be late on a specific item, you need to prioritize. First thing you need to prioritize is obviously going to be your mortgages and rent. Make sure you have money for food. Make sure that you have money for gas and other necessities, just know that budgeting changes may need to be made. Once you've gone through your budget and you've looked at all the necessities that have to be paid and you've realized that you're not going to be able to pay those necessities, there are further steps that you can take. Now, when looking at your budget, remember there's some things that need to be paid no matter what that could land you in hot water if they go unpaid. And one of those things being child support. Another thing is going to be your taxes. Another one of those things is going to be auto insurance. Don't let your auto insurance lapse, because if you wreck that vehicle, you're going to be in a lot of trouble with the lender and possibly with the other party. So what do you do if you find out that you can't pay your necessities? The things that are required each month so that you can just live your life. The first thing that you should do, and you'll hear me talk about this a lot, is contact your creditors. Talk to your creditors and tell them what's going on. If you are not able to make your auto loan payment, and you have good payment history with that auto loan lender, that you can actually call them up and you can ask for them to help you with that payment. And in some cases, they can put that payment on the back end of your note and you won't ever be considered late on that specific payment. This philosophy also applies to mortgages and also to student loans. So being proactive, talking to your creditors, letting them know what's going on, and in some cases, even with your credit card companies, they can do certain things to make your minimum payments lower, to help you so that you can make those payments, that you never have to suffer from a late pay to begin with. So in the next segment, we're going to talk about the nitty-gritty of how to get a singular late pay corrected, what actually constitutes a late pay, but you're going to have to click this link to see that video.